There's a really good miniseries out there called Chernobyl that is on HBO. It documents this nuclear power plant explosion in the 1990s in Russia, and it really has this really great overall theme, which is the question, what is the cost of lies? And basically, just, spoiler alert, it basically, the cost of the lies is the explosion, is the nuclear power plant explosion, and there's a lot of political bullshit that was on the background that resulted in this nuclear explosion. And it really got me thinking recently. My mind was like pondering about the TCG industry as it does. And I thought, what is the cost of convenience? There is some cost to convenience. Of course, we can get all of our TCG products online. I don't even have to leave my room. I can be a normal guy in a normal room online. Booster boxes, trading cards, everything that I need for my hobby comes right to my room. And even though that's convenient, and what do I save? I save time. I save time from me driving to a store to pick up product, to come back to my house. I save energy with the car and the gas and everything. Personally, for me, I save a lot of things out there. But what do I lose? And I think that a lot of people haven't really taken that into consideration when thinking about different things in the trading card game hobby of what have we lost along the way over the last 10 to 15 years, because I feel like Flesh and Blood, right? I'm not going to say the phrase, but you all know it. But the reason why it was created is to bring people together, have social interaction. I feel like that is the main thing that we've lost over the 10 to 15 years out there, is the social interaction, the community, bringing people together and talking and just spending time with one another, enjoying the hobby, right? And I think overall, if you look at this pamphlet, right, and I have a video I'll link down below that I went through this pamphlet. This was James White and Legend Story Studios doing a rally call out there in the world saying, hey, we want to bring this back. We don't like the cost of convenience. We don't like these video game platforms taking over the TCG space, making the TCG space a lot less desirable. We don't like how these big box retailers and online stores are pushing out the LGS and stuff. We care about the local game store because that's what brings people together. That's where people gather to play the trading card games that we all know and love. And that's where you get the social interaction. That's where you get people talking with one another, building those relationships. And, I have to admit, I'm not like the best golden eagle scout of going out to LGSs every, Friday night and playing with friends and stuff. I'm like you guys. I probably have a lot of, or I do have a lot of stuff on my plate in life, so it's hard for me to get out of the house and go to local game stores. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. And life is like tended us to be more of a convenience aspect of ordering stuff online and everything. But I have a lot of great memories back in the day. I mean, when I was growing up, just know, I think in like summer camps, right? A little bit more backstory about me. And I'm gonna ramble a lot in this video. This is just an open discussion about the cost of convenience. Now, like, I would be in summer camps and I would trade, Pokemon cards for, like, I'd trade like 2 for 3, and then I'd trade 1 for 2, and then I'd build collections here and there, and I would like trade with other people, make friends, and all this such. And it was a really fun experience. And I can't remember the last time I actually like traded a trading card. which is pretty dark, man. Like, all I'm doing really is I sell stuff. I've sold stuff on TCG Player and eBay and stuff like that, and I've purchased stuff from TCG Player and eBay, and other stores out there like the Haven Games, really great game store out there, that's in Florida. But I don't really like trade with people. So it really is interesting how it works. It's like there is a cost to convenience in a way, because back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, people would trade a lot more in the local game store, I imagine. And people would trade with one another in their communities instead of going on an online, place, because those places weren't well established. You know, you didn't have TCG Player where you could do it all from the comfort of your home. You had people going to stores, making friends, making connections, maybe emailing them back and forth and such like that. And you know, there is something to that. You know, recently, I think in like 3 or 4 years ago, I was really into Magic the Gathering signed cards. And there's a really cool guy out there who is big on the eBay store platform. And it was really nice. I messaged him one day and said, hey, I'm kind of interested in your stuff. What if you and I just become friends and I'll just PayPal you the money with, you know, F and F, and you know, we'll negotiate on the side and I'll get a discount here. And he was great with that, and we, you know, went back and forth on pricing, and I was like, oh, I'll buy that, and it was really a buyer, like me as a buyer to him as a seller type of relationship. But overall, you know, I made a friend with him. Like him and I like talked back and forth about really cool signed cards that we liked, and you know, I was like, oh, this is my favorite artist, and these are the cards that I really like, and he would do the same, and I'd look at his favorite artists and stuff, and I gathered a lot of information from him about like different signed cards and who is really good and who is bad, or like what cards were rare and what were not, and how to really evaluate a signed card in Magic the Gathering. Because it's really hard, man. Like, you have to be in that space for years to really know your shit in the signed Magic card collectible space. And overall, I made a really good friend with him, and we emailed back and forth like constantly. And you know, since then I've kind of had like, you know, I've been the baddie on that one. He's reached out a couple times, and I'm just really not fast to respond, but I made a good connection there. And I think in the Flesh and Blood space, it's been even better because I have loved to play the game. You know, before in other games like Magic, I loved collecting Magic back in the day. But ever since I got into Flesh and Blood, I really wanted to play the game, and having the armory kits and the pre-release promos in store made my ass get out of this room and go into the local game store and play Flesh and Blood events. And through it, I've really made really great friends and great, like, met really great people out there in the community. And it really has brought me and made connections, and you know, people that I, you know, ping and you know, like chat with on a regular basis. And it's really cool, man. And overall, I think that yes, the social interaction part, there is something that has gone awry. You know, there's definitely a lack of it out there in the community. But I also want to say that the internet is a very big connector. I mean, you're listening to my ass right now. That means we're connected in some way, shape, or form into ones and zeros and binaries and everything. And I know that the internet and everything is kind of like against the whole philosophy of this thing. And it is the thing that's really making it so convenience, there's a cost to it, right? There's a cost to having everything convenient. But I feel like it also is a really catalyst to creating friendly connections. Like, the best thing I think the internet does, right, is it makes us build friendships before we meet in person. And I really want to emphasize that. Like, there's a couple people out there in the Flesh and Blood community that I chatted with a lot. I chatted back and forth, and we had good conversations, or I talked to them on my podcast, and then, you know, didn't talk to them since, or whatever. But there's a lot of people I like messaged a lot, you know, just, you know, back and forth on Discord. But then meeting them in person in the Flesh and Blood event and just talking with them, it was so good because I'd already established that relationship. You know, it's not like I went into a room and all of these people were blank faces, right? I would go up to people and I'd be like, oh, wait, you're this guy that I message all the, you know, that we've messaged before. Hey, how's it going, man? And like, you know, Joey from Decks and Drafts, it was the same with him. Like, I saw him, I was like, hey, you're Joey from Decks and Drafts. It's like, oh, Bronson. And so we already had that relationship ahead of time, so we didn't have to make it in person, if you know what I mean. And I think that that is the best way that the internet is really conducive to having an environment where it's not really sabotaging the cost of convenience, where you're still gaining that level of people interacting with each other and the social interaction. Because I think it's more important than ever, you know, with the global events and everything, that people just have really good friendships, and people have different hobbies and ways to just interact and really come together. You know, there's too many things in life that are just tearing us apart. It's great when you have something, just a common language game that's just really fun to play. And overall, you know, at the end of this, I just want to ramble out on another topic. Yeah, like this thing right here is basically the marketing kit that Flesh and Blood and Legend Story Studios sent out to all the LGSs. And I thought about this when I thought about what is the cost of convenience. Because in this, they state, hey, local game stores, you know, we feel for you. We know the market's against you. we know that there's a lot of free games out there that are really detracting the consumer base from TCGs and going more digital. We see that in different organizations out there. We see that you know, big retailers are pushing you out of their space, and you know, it's going more online sales and direct to customer. We see that, and we want it to change. We want it to be like the old days. We want it to be more where people are coming together and just playing a great game. And I think if you look at that whole business philosophy and you look at the whole reason why the game was created and what its purpose is for, its modus operandi or raison d'etre, whatever Latin phrase you want to say, I think that it has very good intentions. It's built on a very core premise, and if you think about what it's doing, it's trying to really alleviate the cost of convenience out there in the industry and out there in the world for the trading card game industry. So I thought I'd make a video about it, talk a little bit and ramble on and discuss it because I think it's important. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said this randomly. I said, hey, what is the cost of convenience instead of the cost of lives? Because there's cost to everything in life, guys, I feel. You know, it's the, whatever the economics term for substitution cost or whatever. It's like, instead of one thing, you're doing one thing, you're doing another thing, right? So it's a opportunity cost. That's it. I got it. Economics. But basically, there's always that opportunity cost, you know, that what is the cost of one thing is what you're forfeiting. And the cost of convenience is the whole meeting people and social interaction. But then the whole cost of social interaction, everything, is time, which is really quite fascinating when you think about the whole aspect that in that realm. But overall, to sum up, cost of convenience is just people making interactions. And overall, I'm not like the poster child for the guy who goes to the local game store every week. I wish I was. I wish I was that guy. I am not. I make YouTube content when I can, usually past 11 p.m. because that's when I have free time. But other than that, you know, I do what I do. But I think that overall, it's interesting how social interactions is the real whole purpose of Legend Story Studios and Flesh and Blood, in my opinion. I think that if you look at the heart of the game and just, you know, bringing people together, obviously, but it really is to combat the cost of convenience. That is the issue in the industry right now, is that things are way too convenient that prohibit social interaction. You know, it's social interaction has been pushed to the side. So bringing a game like this, incentivizing the local game stores and making the local game stores grow is what is going to really combat the whole cost of convenience. So anyway, just thought it was a really interesting topic. I know I rambled a lot in this video and said a bunch of random stuff. I didn't really think I had too much of what I was going to say. Hope you've enjoyed. Let me know what you think, and have a good one, man. Cheers.